not even our costs. I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21 12670. Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's, working towards the weekend here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Loads of football to get to. We're going to talk a little special teams today, talk college football preseason power rankings, college football's 10 most impactful games in 2023. Luke Johnson's going to check in at the bottom of hour number 2. We're going to talk to him about the Saints workout with the Chargers out in L.A. today. Luke was at Dodger Stadium last night, and his Brewers, who I despise, were beaten soundly by the Dodgers, which I appreciate greatly. Want Luke's thoughts on that, as well as a little Dodger Stadium review. I was there in April. Kind of gave you my thoughts on it back then. Big, scenic, old, kind of a dump. We'll see what Luke has to say about Dodger Stadium and the Saints working out against the Chargers at 2:30. But I want to start with something that I don't think we have discussed very much about LSU's fall camp this year. Like, I feel like we've talked a lot about the secondary. I think we've talked about the depth at running back. I think we've talked about Harold Perkins. I think we've talked about Malik Neighbors, the ascent of Aaron Anderson. I think there have been a lot of storylines that we've navigated in this fall camp. But one of the things that we haven't really talked about much is quarterback play. And that's probably less interesting. I mean, I think there's probably a little more debate going on in Tuscaloosa or Oxford or Athens about, well, who's taking the snaps this year? What's it going to look like? What can they be on offense? And if you're LSU, you're kind of sitting here going, yeah, Daniels is the quarterback, and he's coming back. He's a guy who started for 4 years. And, yeah, Nussmeier, I mean, thought he looked pretty good against Georgia and Purdue, and he's the backup. And you got a freshman, Ricky Collins, and you got a couple really solid commitments coming in. It's kind of a boring deal, and that's a good thing, I think. I know it's a good thing to have that kind of confidence and that kind of, I guess, security at the quarterback spot. But Garrett Nussmeier did talk with the media this week, and Brian Kelly spoke about the quarterbacks a little bit. So I kind of wanted to listen to some of their thoughts and kind of opine on my thoughts on their thoughts, I guess you could say. And this was Brian Kelly talking about giving the quarterbacks a little more control over the offense.
You know, when you have an incumbent quarterback, certainly, you know, Daniels and Nussmeier, obviously, they can run the offense. They can get you into and get you out of bad plays. They make the coach look really good. And that's the honest truth. This offense and its structure is set to eliminate negative plays, and they have the ability to control it. So we've given them more control this year in the running game as well, where they're setting the running game a little bit more as well. So I would give a lot of it to the quarterback and his ability to run this offense with a lot more confidence and control.
It just makes sense that they would have a lot more control over the offense and a lot better grasp on the offense. Think about what LSU has dealt with at the quarterback spot over the last 3 years or so. Max Johnson's in, and then he leaves. And you had Jake Peets in, and he's gone after a year. And then you think it's Miles Brennan's offense. And then he gets hurt, and he can't play. And TJ Finley's in and out. And then all of a sudden, you got Nussmeier, and you think he's going to be the answer to play a little bit, and he plays one game, and then all of a sudden you bring him out, and then you've got, there's a transfer to Max Johnson, and then, you bring in Jaden Daniels out of nowhere, and you got a new offensive coordinator because you got a new head coach, and here comes, Mike Denbrock to call the plays, and you've had musical chairs at quarterback and offensive coordinator since Burrow left. Period. how are you supposed to get a better grasp on the offense if, one, you're a new player into the program, whether you're a freshman or a transfer, or two, you've got a new coach every year? Like, you can't develop that kind of continuity, that kind of trust between coach and player. And now, finally, you look up and, oh, you do have that. And you've got a proven commodity in Jaden Daniels. And you've got a capable backup in Garrett Nussmeier. But with that continuity that you feel like you have in December of 2022, all of a sudden, because of this day and age in college football, you have to look up and go, well, Nussmeier's probably going to leave. Well, Walker Howard, I don't know if he's going to be there or not. Well, Daniels might go to the NFL. Like, you can't really feel like it's going to last longer than one season. And that's what we thought. I was very candid. I was very open. I was on the air. I said, listen, I don't have any inside information. I don't have any inside source. I certainly have not spoken to the players or the coaches. This is a hunch I have based on the generation that we live in right now and the era of college football that we're smack in the middle of. I just don't feel like Garrett Nussmeier is going to be around if Jaden Daniels comes back. That's what I said, because that just made sense based on the era of college football. But instead, Garrett Nussmeier said, I'm not going anywhere. And if Casey, you'll play number 2 here, he said, not only am I not going anywhere, that wasn't even a difficult decision.
I don't think it was that hard of a decision for me. This is where I want to be. My roots are in this state. This is my home, and it means something to me to represent LSU and to represent this state and these fans. And also, with my teammates and coaches, I've learned to build relationships with the new staff, and I have a lot of love for them. And also with my teammates, I wanted to finish what we started.
It's a great answer. I don't know if he ever wavered or thought elsewhere or what. But it certainly is a great answer, and certainly it's interesting to me that he feels as strongly as he does about the state of Louisiana. He's always said that he feels like he's from Louisiana, even though his dad's coached everywhere in Dallas and Tuscaloosa and up in the Midwest. Like, his dad's been everywhere. And so he grew up a lot of different places, but he feels a connection to LSU. So that's why when he played his high school football in Texas, he's still committed to Louisiana State University and decided he was going to stick it out and play here. And so when he says it's an easy decision to come back, you realize that sure, you've got every opportunity to take reps in spring ball and work out in the summer and be there in the fall. But the fact of the matter is that Brian Kelly said back in the spring that Jaden Daniels was a starting quarterback. He did not mince words. He did not try to keep everybody happy and kind of be coy about things. He said, no, Jaden Daniels is our starting quarterback. And so Garrett Nussmeier said the decision to come back is easy. Well, then what do you expect to get out of your third year in college?
What I wanted to get out of this year is the same that I want to get out of any year. It's just continuing to get better, never accepting of what I am, and I'm always in competition with what I have the potential to be, not with what I am now. And I think that's kind of the mindset that I've taken.
That answer is cliche and vanilla, but what it shows me is there's a maturity there. And that's what you want. Nowadays in college football, because of the volatility of the position, quite often a backup quarterback's going to be a young player. Now, that won't be the case in Oxford this year. You got Jackson Dart, who's been a starter, and you got Spencer Sanders, who's been in college for 413 years. So they'll have a veteran backup no matter who it is. And Texas A&M will have a guy that's a backup that has played, whether it's Wigman or Johnson. We think Johnson will be the backup, and he's certainly not young. But more often than not, your second-team quarterback is going to transfer out, and that leaves a freshman or redshirt freshman to be the next guy. And LSU's got a third-year player who's exceptionally mature. And every answer that he gave this week kind of reflected that maturity. And I thought this one did as well when he talks about, hey, there's a guy in front of you that's the starting quarterback and you're not, but what do you think of him? Sorry, Casey, you don't have that one. It's number 4. Number 4.
He's done a great job leading, and we all push each other. There's no time to slip up. We're always competing. We're always pushing each other to be the best that we can be, and I think it's been good. There's a good dynamic in the room. Ricky's done a great job since he's got here. He's learning, he's growing, and he's doing really well.
And he's talking about Ricky Collins. He's talking about Jaden Daniels, and I do think there is significant value in the quarterbacks getting along. It's not always going to be the case. There's a lot of competition there. It's not like running back where they can all play. It's not like LSU's baseball team where everybody kind of gets their opportunity to DH or play first or get out there in left field or whatever. there's one guy that's the quarterback. And if you aren't that guy and you have an anticipation that you're going to be that guy and then that's taken away from you, there can be animosity and it can be kind of toxic. I'm not proclaiming to ever sat in a quarterback room, but that's just human nature, is to feel like, this guy's beating me out. I could do better than that. I'm not going to help him. Anything that he does good hurts me. Because you could think if you're like, hey, Jaden Daniels go out there and here's this new aggressive offense that LSU wants to play, and he turns it over 4 times in the first 2 games. And now I get a chance to play, so that's not the worst thing in the world. But instead it feels like they're all on the same page and they're all working together. And I think that's easier to do. Perhaps. This is me kind of stretching a little bit. Maybe that's easier to do if you feel like you've got a great team that can accomplish great things. And I go back to Jay Johnson in January of this year talking about the championship teams and the way that they acted and the way that they had to handle themselves, understanding that you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit, but you're going to maybe have to step up at a given moment. And if you were to do the same operation and go back to LSU from a quarterback perspective, you could easily go back to 2011 or 2007 and realize that the backup quarterback that year had to do a lot. In 2007, Ryan Perrilloux had to go play the SEC championship game and win it. In 2011, the starting quarterback got suspended for the first half of the season, and the backup quarterback had to go out there and start LSU undefeated, had to go beat Oregon, had to go beat West Virginia, had to beat Florida, had to beat Auburn. That's a big deal. And maybe Garrett Nussmeier feels like, yeah, I'm not the starting quarterback, but I have to be ready because maybe we've got a chance to do something really special this season.
The sky's the limit for us this year. If we handle things the right way, if we do things the right way. Our defense is ridiculous. There's so many athletes, so many dogs on that defense. It's scary, and it makes us better as an offense. When we go against them, it's hard. It's not easy in practice. And so, when we go play on Saturdays, it's going to make the game easier than it is, at practice. And so, there is no limit on what we could accomplish this year as long as we handle things the right way and take things the right way and handle it week by week and focus on what we need to focus on. And, I'm really excited.
Maybe it's easier to hone in on a role when you feel like your team's got a chance to do great things. Either way, there's value to me in having coaches' sons on a team. They know that tough decisions have to be made. They know that everybody's not going to be happy all the time. They know that sometimes things are hard. They haven't been catered to their whole life more often than not. It's not every situation is uniform and exactly the same, but there's value in that, and you understand that it probably helps his demeanor to know that he's been around coaching his entire life with a dad who's been very successful in coaching football. So I was impressed with a lot of things that Garrett Nussmeier had to say this week to the media, and I think he's got a really, really bright future ahead at LSU, whether that's helping out this team win games or being the guy next year. Either way, I think he's got a chance to be a really, really good one. Moving right along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. They're brought to you by Rouse's. Get on by Rouse's to get your groceries for the weekend coming up over the next couple of days. And we know tailgate season is coming up. Make Rouse's your official tailgate partner. They are the official grocer of the New Orleans Saints. When we come back, a little special teams talk. That was not good last year. Should be better this year. We'll tell you why.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm telling you about One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team have been in the game for 30 years. Telling you every single day, 10% off if you do a combo. You do the bathroom renovation or remodel, as well as the closet renovation or remodel, 10% off of that work at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. You can see pictures of their great work. You can see the testimonials, satisfied customers. Because David Duvall and his team do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. They're not trying to get through this job as quickly as possible to get to the next one, to get to the next check. Nope. You're important to them. They're a local company, and they're here to help out local people in our listening area. They will take the time to walk you through the process. They will finish on time, and they will do it right the first time and leave that competition behind. Check out that website, OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's one.
Charles Hangrove, join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Troy Macker from Bet Rivers is with us. Bruce Marshall is with us. We're counting down the lock of the week, and we got a big weekend of preseason football. Live at Lunch from Rufino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
What was the worst part of LSU's season last year? Probably answered that question. It was special teams. They were atrocious on special teams last year. Some of it, I think, was directly reflective of the coaching. Some of it, I think, was not. I think guys dropping punts and kickoffs is on the players. I think situations you got too many guys on the field or you can't block for a field goal, that's a lot on the coaches. It was bad any way you slice it. And they made an effort to fix it. Now, obviously Brian Polian moved on to be the athletic director at his alma mater, and they brought in Bob Diaco to help as kind of an analyst as well as handling some special teams. And Bob Diaco has been a head coach at Connecticut. He's been a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame for Brian Kelly, but he's also done a lot of special teams coaching. He coached special teams at Western Illinois. He coached special teams at Eastern Michigan. He coached special teams at Western Michigan. He coached special teams at Virginia. He's done a lot of special teams coaching in his career, and he's doing a lot of special teams coaching when we go out to practice in fall camp. They are working this stuff pretty extensively. And I will tell you that because when you go out there and they do special teams work, it's really boring to watch. Sometimes the kicker kicks it. Sometimes they do it out of a jugs machine, and a lot of guys run down there and kind of run into each other, and then they blow the whistle and the play is stopped. There's no tackling. There's no blocked field goals. There's no blocked punts. It is not super fun to watch. But special teams is supposed to be mechanical. It's supposed to be everybody fills a role for an abbreviated amount of time, and that's the end of the play. And that's something that LSU had so much trouble doing last year. But they're emphasizing it this year. They're coaching it a lot. And the hope is that they significantly improve as far as special teams goes. I'll listen to this Brian Kelly quote on playing starters on special team, and then I'll kind of give you my thoughts on it. But he talked earlier this week about playing his starters on special teams.
I think we had a pretty frank conversation with our guys about what the NFL rosters look like. I mean, for these guys to make these rosters, I'll just give you an example from the fourth round pick or later, it's about a 20% chance of making a roster. So you better have more in your resume than just being a positional player. You better play special teams as well. So we're just trying to be transparent with our guys and let them know that, this is what it looks like. Look, if you're a bona fide first-round draft pick, special teams doesn't necessarily need to be on your resume. But, we don't have 5 first-round draft picks. We got a lot of really good football players, but they need to enhance their resumes.
The entire starting secondary was on kickoff coverage when I was out there last week. Greg Brooks, Major Burns, Deuce Chestnut, Zy Alexander. In fact, there was basically all defensive guys. Saw the Weeks brothers out there as well. But the entire starting secondary was out there on special teams. And when I think about special teams at LSU and some of the plays that stand out to me, and Michael Clayton breaking the Auburn guy in half in 2001. I think a lot of you will remember that. I was a youngster, but I do remember it in 2001. Jarvis Landry in the Auburn game, flying down there and crushing guys twice. Jacob Hester on the morning show talks all the time about how he and Craig Stelz were on special teams. It's okay to play your best guys on special teams. If you need to make tackles, stop having guys rip off huge returns, put your best athletes out there that know how to tackle. And your best athletes that know how to tackle, play defense as starters. And you're going to see that from this LSU team because they're repping it every single day. Another thing that Brian Kelly was talking about special teams a little earlier this week as well and said that he thinks that they are making some progress.
Special teams, I think, is making really good progress. We saw our kicking game yesterday. I was pleased with that. Ramos and Dybert will both be active in the kicking game. Jay obviously is doing a great job with punting. And Aaron Anderson is really as comfortable of a punt returner that I have seen. We got some work to do on kickoff return in terms of where that's going to be. But he's back there too, Aaron. And we'll see where that goes. We're going to spend a little bit more time on that in the next couple of days.
A couple things. I absolutely love that Aaron Anderson is putting a stranglehold on the punt returner role. Because to me, while you're probably more likely to muff a punt than run one back for a touchdown, like that statistically is probably a more likely play that happens. You're more likely to drop a punt than run it back for a touchdown, and that's more catastrophic. You're weighing pros and cons, and if your guy can't bust off a 40-yarder and he's more likely to go 4 or 5, but he will catch it as opposed to the guy who's likely to bust a few tackles but is going to put it on the ground a few times, well, obviously you can't have that. Like, job one is clearly going to be to catch the football. I know that. But there is no reason, not one single reason, why LSU should not have an explosive game breaker at kickoff return and punt return. There's like 25 on the roster. You know the wide receivers, and you figure the cornerbacks, but just go turn on the high school highlight tapes of some of these guys. They're all running kicks back. It's one of the great enjoyment bringers in my life when I turn on high school highlight tapes in December to see signees, and I watch high school coaches continue to punt and kick off balls to SEC athletes when they got a bunch of insurance salesmen and plumbers on their kickoff teams. Guess what? It's not going to go so great. But LSU putting a guy back there to simply hold his hand up and catch it, no thanks. Maybe if Burrow's playing quarterback, we'll talk about it. And Daniels is pretty good, but there ought to be somebody back there on kickoffs that scares the bejesus out of the other special teams coach. And I know most kickoffs result in touchbacks. Like, that's the reality of it. I know that. But just give me an opportunity. Give me a chance to make a big play. And guess what? Aaron Anderson can make a big play. He's slippery and shifty and quick, and he can catch. And he's going to be a big piece of the offense. But I love the fact that they're looking directly at him as far as punt return goes. As kickoff return, who are the fast guys? Put Jaylen Brown back there. He's a track star. I'm all for it. I'm okay with Aaron Anderson back there. He's plenty fast. What I don't need at kickoff returner is a 225-pound running back. I know they are used to running with the football. They can secure it. They can take a hit. I get it. I don't like it. I want Trey Palmer back there running 100 miles an hour. Jaylen Brown would offer that. Doubt they're going to do it. But I'm all for Aaron Anderson going back there and doing it. Other special teams, when you talk about the kicking, Bramblett was great last year, averaged 44.5 yards per punt, knocked 8 inside the 20, had 15 punts of over 50 yards. LSU did not have one blocked. I thought the punting game was solid last year for the most part. And Ramos was pretty good. He had 3 misses from inside of 40 yards, which is not ideal, but he was solid. He was 10 of 14 on the year. He made 2 of 3 from over 40 yards, and they didn't attempt one from over 50. But you obviously had the 2 blocked that hurt. But I think special teams should be good. Now, special teams should always be good at LSU. You've got more athletes than you can count. And you ought to have a reasonable kicker and punter. Last year, I think the majority of the issues were on execution, whether that's catching a football or blocking. They didn't do a good enough job. The attention is there. They're going to put really good players out there, starting caliber players out there, and hopefully it goes well. That's certainly the hope that Brian Kelly has, because you live in these margins that are so fine in a football season. I talk about this all the time in kind of a different light with baseball. You have a couple of things go wrong in the late innings in baseball in a game here or there, and you turn your 40-16 record into 42-14. Like, those don't look any different at all. Lost a couple of close games, won a couple of close games, whatever. In football, if special teams, like they did last year, cost you a game, it's massive. Every loss is so big. And we know LSU is going to be good on offense, and we think they're going to be strong on defense. You just can't let one get away in the margins of special teams, because it changes the outlook of the season so drastically based on 1 or 2 plays. It's just not really the case in basketball or baseball until you get to the postseason. It is in football. You've got to get the stuff cleaned up, and they've got to be better. That's what Brian Kelly's looking at, and that's what he's asked Bob Diaco to do. And I can promise you, they're working on it a good bit out there at practice, because we have seen it. All right, we'll take a timeout, come back with more football talk. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Speaking of that Florida State game, it's in the middle of storm season, hurricane season, thunderstorm season. We lose power a lot down here. Don't let that happen to you. Boudreaux's Electric can help. Boudreaux's Electric is family-owned and operated. They have been for 40 years by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux. They're a certified Generac generator dealer. Not just that, they are a premier Generac dealer, which means they're in the top 3% nationwide of Generac dealers. Let them come out and customize a generator for your home. Some of us live in 1,700 square foot homes. Some people live in 4,000 square foot homes. You got different generator needs. Some people want their entire house powered by a generator if there's a storm. Some people just want the fridge and freezer running, just want the AC running. Okay, we can make that work. But you've got to get Neil and Melissa Boudreaux to come out and look at your home and put together a generator plan for you. They also monitor their generators 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If yours fails, they'll know about it. They can come fix it. This part of the country, we just need these. Boudreaux's Electric can help you out. Go to the same phone number they have used for 40 years. It's 985-3800. 397-1562. It's Boudreaux's Electric at 985-397-1562.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Saints joint workouts with the Chargers in L.A. We'll have updates for you. Join us for Thursday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
ESPN.com's put out their power rankings for the college football season, and you've probably seen them. We've talked about it on here, but I thought they did something interesting today, and they went through those power rankings, and they said, all right, what's the best case and worst case for the teams we've got listed here? And so we'll get to LSU here, but we'll start at the top with Georgia. And they say best case is obviously a third straight national championship. I'm not going to argue with that at all. It's what they say the worst case is, which is 2 losses, which is a fascinating place for Georgia to be in. And it's not really what I want to talk about. It's whether or not Georgia, with only 1 loss, would make the college football playoff. Hypothetically, if Tennessee runs the table, or if Tennessee just loses to Alabama, and then beats Georgia, wins the SEC East, and gets to the SEC Championship game. And Georgia is sitting there having lost in Knoxville, and I guess their best win being Auburn, a 5 or 6 win Florida team, South Carolina. Like at that point, what are you hanging your hat on victory wise? It's the point that Bama made last year. It was like, oh, well, yeah, we lost 2 games, but they were both in overtime, both on the road, both the top 10 teams. Like, hey, that's pretty good. Those are really tough losses. And then you look at it and go, yeah, well, what's your win? A 5-win A&M team? You super proud of that win over Arkansas? I guess Texas with their backup quarterback? Is that what we're hanging our hat on? So I wonder if even if one loss is the worst case scenario for Georgia, if it's the Tennessee game and Tennessee holds up its end of the bargain and wins out, do they, or just loses once, does Georgia get back in? Because a weak schedule, yes, does afford you the opportunity not to lose any games. But it also doesn't give you a lot of room to create benefit of the doubt. Georgia, if anybody was going to get the benefit of the doubt, it would be Georgia, who's won 2 in a row. I'm just not totally convinced. Obviously, it's dependent on what the rest of the country would do. We scroll down a little bit to Alabama. Best case scenario for the Crimson Tide, Chris Lowe writes, is a national championship. The roster top to bottom is championship caliber. Finishing in the top 3 of the recruiting rankings virtually every season for the past decade is going to do that. But at key positions, Alabama needs some things to break exactly right. Buckner, Milroe, or Simpson. Somebody's got to separate at quarterback. You don't have to be Bryce Young, but you're going to have to take care of the football. Should be a solid running game. But, again, what's at receiver for Alabama? I heard Mark Heim on Matt's show earlier this week saying, yeah, they just don't have, like, the guy. Like, they've got Jermaine Burton, who's fine, and they've got some guys who are 4- and 5-star recruits, but, like, who's going to step forward? We'll see what Alabama can do. But the worst case, they say, is 3 regular season losses. The offense has a lot of what-ifs, almost too many, in fact. Everyone's going to focus on quarterback, but lackluster receiver play is almost as glaring an issue. Bryce Young covered up for it, but unless Shaquille Brooks or Isaiah Bond or someone steps up in a big way, Alabama's going to struggle to score in crunch time. If that happens, go ahead and chalk up back-to-back losses to LSU and Tennessee. From there, it's hard to see Alabama winning both against Texas and Texas A&M, A&M being on the road. I could try to sell you 4 losses for Bama. I could work really hard on that. I don't think you would bite. I do think they can lose 3 games. I absolutely think they can lose LSU. I mean, they can lose. They can lose Texas. They can lose LSU. They can lose Tennessee. They can lose A&M. I would even say that they could potentially lose to Ole Miss. And the Iron Bowl's weird. But I don't think they're going to lose 4. 3 is, I think, the worst case scenario. So I would agree with this piece that, like, yeah, you may not love what they have at quarterback, and certainly Hunt Palmer does not love what they have at quarterback. But the roster's so good that I'm just not gonna try to shoehorn them into 4 losses. That's a little more than even I can do. Then we get to LSU at number 5. Best case scenario, college football semifinal. Blurb says nobody saw LSU getting the SEC championship game last year, especially after Tennessee pummeled them 40-13 at home. But LSU picked itself up off the turf. Kelly knows more about this team, and most importantly, the Tigers have a seasoned quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who's proven on the big stages he can beat teams passing and running. If LSU can manage to get through the month of September unscathed, that November the 4th game at Alabama could end up being a play-in game for the playoffs. I do think Florida State could be a feather in LSU's cap. In this format, would I probably rather play UL Monroe? Probably, if I'm trying to win a championship. Look at last year. You put yourself back on your heels entering that A&M game, and certainly the Georgia game, because you had lost a non-conference game. If your only loss was to Tennessee entering A&M, you'd have been in the playoff mix. And still, if you lose to A&M but go beat Georgia, maybe, as a 2-loss SEC champion. But you tossed in a non-conference loss, and then things get tough. But if you win that game, it's a feather in your cap. So could you get there? Yes. But my suggestion would be if LSU is good enough to beat either Alabama or Florida State, to beat Ole Miss and A&M away from Ole Miss away from home and A&M, to beat Auburn in Florida. If you're good enough to do all that and qualify for the SEC championship game, in any event, you're probably going to have beaten either Georgia or Alabama. Then I would suggest that your best case is not just a semifinal. It's at least a final, if not a national championship. If you think you're as good as Alabama and Georgia, which in this scenario you've beaten one of them, away from home, I might add, then you're good enough to win a championship, in my eyes. So again, I'm not saying that LSU will win one. I'm just saying, if we're going best case scenario with a Heisman front run-ish quarterback and weapons aplenty on the offense and star power on your defense and about as good a schedule break as you can catch, with Florida being not very good and Auburn being not very good and A&M coming to you, and you're not playing Georgia and you're not playing Tennessee and you got Missouri out of the other side, like the schedule's about as good as it can be in the SEC West, well, I would suggest you could win a national championship. That's what I think. Worst case, 8-5 is what it says. Losses to Florida State, Ole Miss, Alabama, A&M, and whoever you play in a bowl. So they're counting the bowl game in those 13, obviously. LSU was 10-4 last year. That was with the losses to 2 of their final 3 games. 8 games would obviously be a massive disappointment, but I do see where that could happen. I would bet heavily against it. But how would that happen if you got to the worst case scenario? Well, you wouldn't cover anybody. These DBs that have had their struggles at times during fall camp would obviously not be able to cover, and you give up a lot of points. And you can't find a true pass rusher outside of Perkins. And you're trying to move Perkins back a level, be a little bit more versatile. And you're counting on Akufo and Swinson and Jones and Wiggins and Womack and Smith and Wingo and those guys to rush the passer. But none of them has ever produced a prodigious sack season. We think Savion Jones can break out. We think Mason Smith's a first-rounder with All-American potential. We think Mekhi Wingo, with some help from double teams on Smith, can rush the passer a little bit. Swinson and Hufo got big bodies. They're older, but they hadn't been great sack guys. But the defense will be what would lend itself towards 8-5 if that were to happen. It's not the offensive line. It's not the quarterback. It's not the running backs, even though there's not a Fournette, Geis, Hill guy back there. There's not a Joe Adai back there, a Kevin Falk back there. But they're fine. It's not the wide receivers. It's not the tight ends. It's not the offense. The offense will be fine. If you were to get to 8-5, the defense would shoulder that load. I want to get to Florida State as well, because they're very relevant at this point in the calendar to LSU. They're number 7 in these power rankings, and they say best case, Florida State is at a point now where it is in a position to compete for championships. So it's not hard to envision a high ceiling in 2023 as a college football playoff appearance. I totally agree. Totally agree. I haven't gotten as deep into the weeds with Florida State as I will, what they've got on the offensive front, what their secondary looks like. I know Jared Verse, I know 2 wide receivers, and I know Jordan Travis. I know Mike Norvell. But you look at that conference, what Louisville is right now, what Miami is right now, even what Clemson is right now, which is not what it was 3 years ago. Florida State can be the class of that conference. And they can get into the playoff. And with a quarterback that good, catch somebody on the right day, you never know. I'm hard-pressed to put them as a national championship best case scenario, but I think getting into the playoffs makes sense to me. And it says worst case for Florida State. They just might be ahead of schedule under Mike Norvell entering his 4th year. Until they go back to dominating ACC opponents, there still might be some doubts whether it can run through September without a hiccup. Florida State gets LSU and Clemson in September, then got to go to Wake Forest, who's beaten them 3 times in a row, by the way, and Pitt in November. Plus Miami and Florida. Given the talent returning, it's hard to envision them winning fewer than 9 games. What I notice about that paragraph is this part makes a ton of sense. Florida State gets LSU and Clemson in September. And then you go to the next two toughest games. You say, well, they got to beat Wake Forest and Pitt. Huh? Boy, isn't that a comfy spot to sit in? Your road to a playoff after you deal with LSU and Clemson is Pitt and Wake, because Miami and Florida are losing football teams entering the season. ACC is rather comfy at this point. So you can go through and read all of them. They've got Tennessee. They've got Texas. They've got Notre Dame. I know some of you are all aboard the Notre Dame hate bandwagon. As far as SEC teams go, Ole Miss, they say best case would be that you handle one of LSU or Alabama, and you're in the mix at the end of November. Worst case says that there's no such thing as an easy pass. The Rebels could certainly fall like they did last year late in the schedule and could finish middle of the pack again in the SEC West, if not worse. I think the bottom can fall out of Ole Miss if their defense is not better and their quarterback play is suspect. I don't think it will be, but I mean the bottom fell out last year at the end. They were 7-0 and finished 8-5. So it's just the way things go. In Oxford, you're walking a razor's edge between being really good and having the bottom just fall completely out like it did last year. All right, we'll come back and close out hour number 2. We're going to give away some tickets to close out hour number 1. I wish it was hour number 2. That means the workday is about over. We're going to close out hour number 1 by giving away some tickets. That's next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
On Thursdays, OTB will continue to bring you the latest from Saints and Tigers camp. The Hoodats get ready to take on the Chargers. Plus, a brand new edition of Munchies with Chef Michael Johnson. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, keep that playing, Casey. Vertical Horizon, I love Vertical Horizon. Just a jam in my childhood. And they're coming to the varsity. Jacques Doucet, Red Rock and Blue, does such an awesome job raising money for military families. And the varsity is going to host Vertical Horizon coming up on Saturday night, this Saturday, August the 19th. If you want to go, hear Vertical Horizon, play jams like this, You're a God. The phone lines are open, but you're going to have to tell me something awesome about the 90s. So 225-499-1045 is the number, 499-1045. If you call now, Casey's going to answer. He's going to put you on the air. When he puts you on the air, you just got to tell me something awesome about the 90s. If I think it's awesome, then I'm going to give you this pair of tickets. If I don't think it's awesome, we're going to go to the next person. So let's see what you 90s people think is awesome, because I was a child of the 90s. I love Vertical Horizon. Loved like Matchbox 20, the alt rock of the 90s. Me and Moscone have been talking about it all week. We can't wait to go check this out on Saturday. It's benefiting a great cause, and Vertical Horizon I love. It's You're a God. That's what we're playing here. And they've got like 4 like total hits, and you know that I'm not a huge like music guy, but I'm pumped up to go see this show on Saturday. So phone lines are open, 225-499-1045. You want to go see Vertical Horizon, call me. Get on the air and say something awesome about the 90s while Casey waits on some phone calls right now. Also pumped up to get out to LSU tonight. The LSU Alumni Association's Baton Rouge chapter is going to do is going to have an event at the South Stadium Club that I'm going to be emceeing. We'll talk to Matt McMahon. We'll talk some women's basketball with Bob Starkey. It's going to be an awesome event in the South Stadium Club over there at LSU. We do it every single year. It's just really cool to get in the stadium and check out. You know, it's every time you go in that stadium, you've got a football environment and there's people everywhere, and it's just a nice time to get out there and like see the stadium and then just kind of celebrate the kickoff of a school year. So we're fired up to get out there. So if you're in the Baton Rouge Alumni Association chapter, come on out tonight to the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to get into the Stadium Club. We do have some callers on the phone line, so we'll head out to the phone line now. All right, who do we have here? Who do we have that's looking to win some Vertical Horizon tickets? You there?
Hello. Yeah, I'm here.
What's your first name?
Ronaldo.
Tell me something awesome about the 90s.
Man, about the 90s. We partied all night. Then we'll go get something to eat from after hours. But the music, it was everybody played the actual instruments. It wasn't no synthesizers. It wasn't all this beat that someone else made. It was original stuff that they wrote, produced, and orchestrated. It wasn't sampling. It wasn't all that sampling like it is now. The 90s were the bomb.
You want to go see Vertical Horizon on Saturday?
I do.
Well, you're going to. Ronaldo, we're going to have some tickets downstairs here at Guarantee Media. We'll send you back to Casey on hold, and we'll see you out there at the varsity on Saturday night, man.
Okay, thank you very much.
You got it. Ronaldo headed to go see Vertical Horizon. Casey, do we have anybody else on the phone lines right now? We do. All right. Send me, who's my next Vertical Horizon fan that wants to go?
No social media.
That's a winner. Taylor Sharp is shaking his head saying yes, yes, yes. What's your name?
Steven.
Steven, you got tickets to Vertical Horizon on Saturday. We'll let Casey get your full name on hold over there, and we'll have you pick him up at Guarantee Downtown. We'll see you out at the Varsity Saturday night. Thanks for calling, man.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's a quality answer. I think both those guys were right. Ronaldo's talking about, hey, look, it was real music. Folks were really playing. Wasn't overly synthesized. That's good. No social media. I gotta give props there.
Hunt,
look,
from a guy who still to this day does not have a Twitter account in myself, the social media one that won me over.
So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to call it X now? Have we decided that? What's the deal?
The domain name as of today is twitter.com. So unless that changes, I'm called as of now, only the logo has changed,
their
right?
Tweets, their retweets. I mean, if you go to x.com, it goes to Twitter. But like it says repost instead of retweet now. I'm a creature of habit. I just want to do what I've been doing for a long time. We're getting all crazy with X, but no social media. Wouldn't have to worry about it in the 90s, would you? Shout out to those two guys who are going to go see Vertical Horizon on Saturday night. If you want tickets, you can get them. Jock does an awesome job with all that. We're coming back with Hour 2 after Sports Center. Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Bengals running back Joe Mixon is found not guilty of aggravated menacing from a road rage incident back in January. A county judge in Ohio says the city of Cincinnati did not meet its burden to prove the case. Dolphins offensive lineman Teron Armstead carted off the practice field today with a right leg injury. He'll have further tests on that leg. Expectations are running somewhat high for the Bears this season. ESPN's Booger McFarland would like to pump the brakes for now.
We look at Justin Fields and we automatically pencil him in as a QB that's going to make a huge jump. I hope he does, but I haven't seen anything that's going to let me know he's going to do that.
Booger McFarland, the former coach of the U.S. women's soccer team, Jill Ellis, says gender should not be a deciding factor in the selection of a new coach. She also says the search for a coach should be diverse. Ellis led the team to World Cup titles in 2015 and 2019. U.S. Soccer confirms today Coach Vlatko Andonovski is stepping down.
Long summer days call for extra hands. Hire fast with Indeed. Their hiring solution helps attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 on a Thursday, working towards the weekend. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Thursday shows brought to you by Rouse's. I'll be out at Rouse's tomorrow from 3 to 5, Burbank and Lee, as we generally do in the fall and the spring. So if you're looking to get your weekend groceries, get on by Rouse's today or tomorrow when we're out there. And if you don't have time, Rouse's can help you with that. Download the Rouse's app. It's so easy. You can do all your shopping digitally right there at your fingertips. Set a pickup time. Rouse's will do the shopping for you. You just pull up. They'll bring it right out to your car. And if you spend $35 or more on groceries, which these days not real difficult to do, you're not going to pay an extra cent. Not an extra cent for them to do the shopping for you. Rouse's app makes grocery shopping so easy, and we appreciate them bringing you our Thursday shows. Sports Illustrated, James Park specifically, wrote a story, college football schedule's most impactful games in 2023. And so I was like, I'm curious about that. Let me check it out. First one, LSU, Florida State. I don't know how many more times we can say it. I know that we will, how important this game is for both of these programs. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on LSU, Florida State because you know about LSU, Florida State. But again, this is not somebody in Baton Rouge. This is not an LSU fan. It's not a Florida State fan. It's not an Orlando website that's making this up. It's Sports Illustrated that says, hey, number one, most impactful game early in the season, LSU, Florida State. That's it. That says a lot to me about the importance of that game. And it wasn't that way last year. It just wasn't. It was dramatic. It was interesting. It was gut-wrenching. But it wasn't that important. It wasn't that impactful because those two teams weren't at the level that they are right now. LSU kind of got to a place we didn't think they would, and Florida State had a good year. But inevitably, LSU fell on its face against A&M and was non-competitive against Georgia. So if you want to tell me that that was super impactful back in Sunday before Labor Day of last year, I would refute that. Second game they list is Texas and Alabama. What a huge game this is. People are talking about the demise of Alabama, talking about the fact that they're not what they once were. What's this quarterback spot? Who are these wide receivers? I'm doing that. I'm pounding my chest right now. Well, the only way to shut us up would be to go dust Texas and win 12 games. Starts September 9th. And if you're Texas and you're kind of riding this recruiting swing they've got rolling and you're coming into the Southeastern Conference and you want to kind of ride that wave the way that A&M did, they set the blueprint up. A&M did. Now, it's hard to get Johnny Manziel to show up immediately when you pull into the SEC. There's a lot of chance that goes into that, but you can set yourself up to be a very, very, very good team when you enter a more difficult league. And one way to do that would be to beat Alabama. Is there any doubt that there will be some folks that are considering Texas and Alabama on the recruiting trail that will be at that game on an official visit? And you want to flex your muscle and say, hey, we are actually back. We're not just kind of saying it after we beat Notre Dame or something. Go to Tuscaloosa and win. Then keep recruiting. Then you can show up in the SEC and do some damage. I think anybody that suggests that Oklahoma and Texas are in for a rude awakening, have no chance when they get to the SEC because they've been beaten up on the Big 12 teams, I think that's wrong. I think both teams can do damage when they get to the SEC. I'm not betting both will or either will. Right out of the chute. But Texas can take a big jump towards that. They can go to Alabama and win. And like I just said, Alabama can shut us up in a hurry. Notre Dame's playing Ohio State. Marcus Freeman, I still think, is a wild card there. They played better late in the year. But you got Ohio State coming to you September 23rd. Touchdown Jesus, gold helmets, the whole deal. Here come the Buckeyes. They'll bring a lot of red into that stadium, and they're going to be good. That wide receiver core is absurd. And if you want to consider yourself a big boy, Notre Dame, then they're going to need to win that game. Florida State and Clemson is fascinating September 23rd. As I mentioned back in the first hour, Florida State gets LSU and Clemson in September this year. With George Travis's last year, Jared Verse's last year, like they've got a good team. Theoretically, Norvell can build the roster to be better over time in recruiting, but it's a good team. And they could have this year derailed if you go 0-2 in those two games, and neither one of them is in Tallahassee. Now, I get Orlando. They'll probably have 65% of the stadium, say. Am I underestimating you all? I don't know a lot of people that are going to Orlando. Maybe there are tons. But they're certainly going to Clemson to play that game. And I'm fascinated by Clemson because if Dabo wants to say, hey, we're not doing the transfer portal thing, and he wants to get upset with the state of college football and fuss when all these changes in college football benefit the players, well, this just in, you need the players. So I'm curious to see where it goes from here. And probably the answer lies in, is Cade Klubnik, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Taj Boyd, or is he DJU? To this point, we don't know. All those guys were very highly recruited. 3 of them were really good. 1 wasn't. I think Klubnik's going to be good. Clemson's got a little bit of retooling to do on the defensive front, as usually they pump 2 or 3 in the NFL almost every year. But can Florida State wrestle away tops in that conference? Truth be told, they'll probably play twice because they did away with divisions, and those two can now play in the championship game. You don't have to worry about Duke and Wake getting in like we have. That's a big one, no question about it. I don't care about Oregon, Washington. Not going to spend any time on it. Penn State at Ohio State. I will spend a second on because as I talked about yesterday with J.D. Pickell, I'm arrogant when it comes to college football. I'm conceited. I'm dismissive. I'm elitist. I don't care about the little guy. I don't think the little guy has a chance. I'm an LSU guy. We always got a chance. We've won 3 championships and played for a 4th in the last 20 years. I don't care about Cal. I don't care about Central Florida. Don't talk to me, Kansas State. Not interested, Arizona State. Sorry, Pitt. Don't care. Penn State is in the have column. Pennsylvania pumps out high school football players into college. They've got passion. They've got tradition. They've got a huge stadium. They should be able to compete with Ohio State and Michigan. Maybe not every year, but more often than not. And I see Ohio State breaking through and winning national championships. I see Michigan getting to 2 straight playoffs. I see Michigan bullying Ohio State all over the field. I see Penn State falling short of that. That's what generally happens. James Franklin is a good coach. He's got every resource he needs. They could compete in that conference. And they're not on the level of Michigan or Ohio State right now. Got to go to the shoe. Going to be difficult. Penn State needs to show up. And how about this? LSU Alabama makes the list. And you might roll your eyes and say, oh, yeah, obviously that's going to make the list. We know that. But the fact of the matter is that the last couple of years, CBS has said, we're good on the LSU Alabama game at night. We're fine. We're going to go Bama A&M. We're going to. That's fine. Did you see that game in 2020? We're good. Maybe this year we're back on the stage. Now, last year was an amazing game. And LSU won it, and LSU won the West last year. And, but I talked for years about it being in such an unenviable spot for LSU to have the most powerful force in college football, Alabama's program, take its bye before you. And to have ESPN's College Game Day show up there every year. And to have CBS in the summer pick one game to put at night all year long and pick that one. And then there's a 2-week build-up, and ESPN shows up on both campuses, and you're talking to Reese Davis, and you're talking to Chris Fowler, and you're talking to Kirk Herbstreit, and you've got the folks from Sports Illustrated coming in and do extra media, and you're supposed to sit here and tell me that this is just like any other game. It's not like any other game. It's the only one on the schedule like it. And it doesn't mean that the loss to Arkansas the next week, or not getting it done against Ole Miss 2 weeks later, or losing to A&M down the line counts less because you played Alabama. It doesn't. They all count the same. But that game feels bigger. And CBS for 2 years said, we're good. But now, the eyes of the nation might be refixed on LSU and Alabama and Tuscaloosa. We'll see. But that's a refreshing thing to see. And obviously, they're going to have Ohio State, Michigan on this list, but they also have Georgia and Tennessee in Knoxville. And I think Tennessee is going to have to atone for what it did last year in Athens. That was a pitiful performance. They played 3 quarters and couldn't score. It was a slog. They had gone up and down the field on everybody, including LSU in Tiger Stadium, and were terrible in Athens. You got them coming to Neyland this time around. Should be easier to communicate, easier to run that tempo, and you need to show up in that game. You got the Bama monkey off your back. You've gotten the Florida monkey off your back. You went to Death Valley and won a huge game. You won the Orange Bowl. You've done some really good things. Now it's time to challenge the team in your division. Because like I told Texas A&M in 2020, if you want to win anything, you got to go through them, pointing at Alabama. And A&M hemmed and hawed because they went 9-1 and they should be in the playoff, and they only had one loss to the number 1 team in the country, and we deserve in. No. Not how it works in this league. You want to leave the Big 12 and come over here? You want to come into the SEC West? All roads go through Tuscaloosa while Nick's there. And you got to beat LSU too, and you got to beat the Mississippi schools, which they're not doing at a very high clip. And every once in a while, Auburn's going to have a really good team you're going to have to deal with, but you don't get any credit for winning those games. You get beat by Alabama by 30. And I'm looking at Tennessee right now, and I'm saying, hey, by the way, you lose to Georgia by 25, 30 points, the selection committee's not going to like it. And we never get to know, because Tennessee threw up on themselves in Columbia, South Carolina last year, if what I'm saying holds true to that side. If Tennessee does beat LSU on the road and does beat Alabama at home and loses to Georgia by a lot, but goes undefeated and doesn't play for the East and doesn't play for the SEC Championship, do they still have a seat at the table in the playoff? I don't know. My gut says probably. But you want to be safe? Beat Georgia. You beat Georgia, you can lose to Alabama and get to the SEC Championship game and avenge that against Bama or LSU. So that's where you're sitting if you're Tennessee now. Georgia's the new Bama for one more year for them in the East before they dissolve the divisions. But you got to win that game if you want anybody to take you seriously. We'll see if they can. So good to see LSU in 2 of the biggest 10 games in college football this year. Nice to feel that way entering a season. Haven't in really 3 years. Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse. As we come back, the SEC, one of the teams in the SEC West, appears to have named a quarterback. We'll tell you who and where and what we expect from him next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. We've been telling you about Corey just about all summer. Corey is a chef. He's got national acclaim for his work on Next Food Network Star, on Beat Bobby Flay. But he comes back home. Being a Louisianian, helping his state philanthropically and in terms of the economy is important to Corey. That's why he operates his 3 businesses at home in Monroe. Corey's a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, person like Corey, entrepreneur, maybe a nonprofit, maybe a business that's doing great philanthropic work, we want to tell their story, and LWCC does too. Go to lwcc.com/champions, check out the champions we've seen, and nominate your champion of Louisiana so that LWCC can tell that story. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756.
Handgrove, join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Troy Macker from Bed Rivers is with us. Bruce Marshall is with us. We're counting down the lock of the week, and we got a big weekend of preseason football. Live at Lunch from Rufino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Looks like we've got a quarterback announcement in the Southeastern Conference. Hugh Freeze at Auburn has reportedly decided that Peyton Thorne will be his starting quarterback on the Plains this season. Thorne is a transfer from Michigan State. He has been a starter there the last 2 seasons, completed about 61% of his throws for about 3,000 yards a year. He has thrown 49 touchdowns and 24 picks in his Michigan State career. Thorne, I watched some highlights of Peyton Thorne this summer getting ready to preview Auburn for media days. And the name that just popped into my head when I was watching him was Brandon Allen at Arkansas. Not overly tall, not overly fast, not overly strong arm, but plenty capable in all of those departments. Brandon Allen was like 6'2". Peyton Thorne's listed at 6'2", 210. Like, he's not 5'11", running around like a, little guy. He's not 6'4", 245, cement feet. He's not going to run a 4.4 in the 30, but he's not, the slowest guy you've ever seen. He's just an average college quarterback. And I think that Hugh Freeze values that experience and that ability set as opposed to Robbie Ashford, who's 6'4", 225 pounds, and can run like crazy. I mean, Ashford last year ran for 710 yards and 7 touchdowns, but he couldn't throw the ball worth a flip. He completed 49% of his passes, threw 7 touchdowns and 7 picks. We know he had the fumble against LSU that LSU picked up and ran in. And I've heard this notion that Hugh Freeze loves this dynamic athlete quarterback. He needs the run option from the quarterback. And I'm going, he really? Like, are you sure? Malik Willis runs great. And that worked awesome at Liberty. But do you remember his first couple quarterbacks at Ole Miss? He won a lot of games with Bo Wallace playing quarterback. Bo Wallace can't run out of sight. Bo Wallace, his last year at Ole Miss, in 13 games, ran for 199 yards. Not one game, 13 games. In 3 seasons, he ran for 944 yards. He ran for about 330 yards a year. So that's not some dynamic athlete. That's a veteran who gets the ball where it's supposed to be. And if you got Laquan Treadwell out there, you get him the rock. And that's what Bo Wallace did. And Chad Kelly's a good athlete. Had a nice 2 years at Ole Miss. But he wasn't some Nick Marshall. He wasn't Johnny Manziel, not Jaden Daniels. He ran for 332 yards his last year at Ole Miss. He just did a really good job of throwing the football. And you had A.J. Brown, and you had, they had dudes out there. So I don't feel like Hugh Freeze has to have some dual threat dynamic option back there, and Peyton Thorne certainly is not. I feel like Hugh Freeze needs someone who can break the huddle, get into the correct motion that Freeze uses a lot, and use the space that's created by the offense to move the ball. That's what Wallace did. That's what Kelly did, and that's how Hugh Freeze won a lot of games. And again, none of these guys look like Mettenberger back there. I'm not suggesting that Hugh Freeze doesn't want his quarterback to move at all. I'm suggesting that he doesn't need some dynamo like Robbie Ashford, who's a great athlete, played quarterback for Oregon and was a baseball player on the regional team that LSU beat up in Eugene. Like, he's a really good athlete, and he showed that last year running around a good bit. But I think this was always going to be the case with Peyton Thorne, and it doesn't surprise me at all that we've seen it. And I expect Auburn to score points this year. I've been very, very upfront about my feelings on Auburn and Freeze. Freeze is not my guy. Don't love the Twitter handle mixed with the actions in real life. I think there's a little bit of one in one hand, one in the other there that doesn't make me super impressed. But he's a damn good football coach. And they will be well coached. And they've got a quarterback now that knows what he's doing. Last year, Michigan State, 12 games, 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks. 2 years ago, 27 touchdowns and 10 picks. So, again, Peyton Thorne's not going to be the first-team all-league quarterback. Peyton Thorne's not going to be a second-round draft pick. Peyton Thorne's coming in to Auburn to kind of pilot the ship for potentially 2 years. He has a COVID year to play with, and he's a junior this year, but he could sit. I mean, he could play 2 years. And I think that he's going to be just average. Brandon Allen at Arkansas. That's what he is. Danny Etling at LSU. That's what he is. Trying to think of it like Zach Calzada at A&M. Kind of that's what he is. These are the comps that I think when I think of Thorne. And I think Auburn is probably going to win a game or two. They shouldn't because they're well coached. I also don't think they're going to have a great year. I think that they'll certainly take their lumps in year one under Hugh Freeze, but Peyton Thorne will be the guy for them under center. The Queen Baton Rouge, formerly Hollywood Casino, invites you to a special never-seen-before event in Baton Rouge. On Thursday, August 24th, which is a week from today, the Queen Baton Rouge presents a drone light show. The show is going to begin just after 8:30. Come downtown, park anywhere close to where you have a clear view of the sky above River Road near the Capitol. And then after the show, head over at 9 o'clock when the doors officially open to the Queen Baton Rouge. New casino right there downtown. Going to have a cool event there a week from today, Thursday, August the 24th. Luke Johnson is out in Los Angeles. The Saints have been working with the Chargers today. They have stopped the practice session. They've had a few media sessions. Want to get Luke's thoughts on what he saw from the black and gold and maybe some of the guys who really need to do something in Sunday's game to potentially grab one of those late roster spots. We'll talk to him about a little of that. Plus, he was at Dodger Stadium last night. I have my thoughts on Dodger Stadium. Excited to get Luke's as he was there watching his Brewers play the Dodgers last night. So we'll take a timeout. We will come back with Luke Johnson from The Advocate talking Saints.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Football season's quickly approaching, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every single victory. You can use your bonus bets on point spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and start earning those bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/1045ESPN. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issues and non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $50 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Saints joint workouts with the Chargers in L.A. We'll have updates for you. Join us for Thursday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You just heard Matt Moscona say it. Saints out in L.A. working out with the Chargers. Practice today. They'll practice again tomorrow. They'll have a walkthrough on Saturday and then kick off Sunday evening from SoFi out in L.A. That's where we head now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Our guy Luke Johnson with The Advocate covering the Saints in SoCal. Luke, how are you, sir?
Hey, Hunt, I've just want to let you know I've been wearing pants outside for the last 3 hours, and I have not broken a sweat. It is great, man. I am doing fantastic.
That's good to hear. I want to talk about the Saints and the weather, but first, my social medias tell me that you got a trip out to Chavez Ravine last night to see the Crew play the Dodgers. I was there in April. I gave my thoughts on Dodger Stadium. Don't know if it was your first time, but your thoughts on Dodger Stadium last night.
That is my second time. My first time seeing the Brewers get absolutely waxed there. So, unfortunately, that maybe played a little bit into how I felt last night. But I think it is personally my favorite ballpark that I visited. I haven't been to Fenway yet. I haven't been to San Francisco. Those are like way up on my list. But it's just a great venue. I mean, they had like 40,000 people there last night for a Wednesday game. Everybody's into it. It's like kind of surprises you when you come up on it, right? Which feels like impossible in LA, but it's like all of a sudden there's Dodger Stadium in front of you. Man, what a cool place to watch a baseball game. It's like if you're a baseball fan, like you have to make a trip out there to watch a game. It's incredible.
So my take was it's really big and it's gorgeous, the ravine and the tree line and all that kind of stuff with the mountains there. And I love seeing the Dodgers and the history there. I thought it was a dump. I thought the amenities were like D+. Like, am I off there?
No, the amenities. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that.
Okay.
Like I ate my $7 Dodger dog, and I wasn't gonna bother with anything else, and I felt like I might have caught hepatitis in the bathroom. But the baseball,
okay, all right.
Baseball was great.
All right, we're on the same page there. Saints and Chargers today. I haven't looked at a single tweet on what we saw at practice, but I know that Dennis Allen's looking forward to some good work. What kind of workout did y'all get to see today?
Yeah, a lot of competitive stuff. I focused strictly on defense today. Going up against that Chargers first offense, like I feel like I saw about 120 reps of like competitive snaps in practice. It's crazy. I think I'm coming away feeling pretty good about the Saints defensively. I don't think it was a perfect day. I think one-on-ones, Keenan Allen just like tore them up. I'm looking forward to going back through my notes today because it felt like Keenan Allen caught about 50 passes. But everything was all like underneath. It was all a quick game. They weren't really getting them for any big gains. And then as soon as it got into these like big competitive periods, red zone, 2-minute drill, they stoned them. The Chargers first team offense had like 10 or 12 snaps in the red zone today, and they could not score. They couldn't score a touchdown. And, in the 2-minute drill, they basically just tried to dink and dunk their way down the field, and the closest they could get was a 47-yard field goal that ended up being short because the kicker was kicking into the wind. So I thought I felt really good about the defense there. I felt really good about the defensive line. They were getting a lot of pressures when they stopped going to the quick game. Overall positive impressions. I'm looking forward to watching the offense tomorrow.
So let me talk to you about Nathan Shepard and Kalen Sanders. Those are the two big free agent acquisitions that are supposed to plug the holes on what was a declining Saints defensive line. We haven't talked a lot about them over the last 3 weeks. What did you see, and what have you seen from them since they put the pads on the last couple of weeks?
So I think they're going to be an improvement over what they had last year, but I think the big part about this is not necessarily even those two guys. It is Malcolm Roach, the Baton Rouge native, has been awesome. And he had an awesome day today. I think he had like 2 batted balls at the line of scrimmage and a sack. So I think when you combine Roach with Colin Saunders, who is technically their nose tackle, but he's super explosive. He's like a twitchy nose tackle, which is great. And then Nathan Shepard just has like all the feel of like a guy who's just going to be quietly good, not make like a ton of like plays in the backfield, but he's just going to be solid. I think that's what they needed. They were criminally unexplosive last year. Like they got no push from the interior. They had a terrible run defense, and like everybody's just like, I can't believe they let David Onyemata and Shai Tuttle walk. They let their 2 starters walk. It's like they were awful.
Yeah, I agree.
They weren't good, and I think the guys they have this year, although it's like a bit of a projection, a bit of a leap of faith, I think from what I've seen so far, they're explosive and they're solid and they're ascending players versus the guys who were in here last year, who I think are on the downside of their careers. And when you add in Roach, who lost about 15 pounds. It took me a while to really be a believer because I feel like I've seen this year after year where you see the flashes, but it's putting it together day after day after day this year. He's been really impressive. I think they have a chance to be a lot better on the interior. And we're not even talking about Brian Brzee, who I think, he's limited as a run defender, but he can give you some really explosive interior rush. And when you start adding that to the mix, I think that makes their defensive ends better. That makes everybody better. That gives them more turnovers when they're getting in the quarterback's face out of the A gap. I just think that it's a chance for their defense to take a big step forward this year.
I know you can't sack the quarterback, but any pass rush to speak of?
Yeah. So I wrote in my notes today, like man, they're not touching the quarterback because like everything they threw was like 5 to 7 yards, right? And then as soon as they stopped going to the quick game, it was like sack. So like Peyton Turner had a couple today. Let's see. Let's go through like the 25 pages of notes I took today. Peyton Turner had a couple. Malcolm Roach and Cam Jordan split one. Carl Granderson had a pressure. Nathan Shepard had a pressure. And then there was another one, Isaiah Foskey, who's like, I've just been dying to write something nice about him this training camp. He blew in there and forced a rush throw that ended up being picked off by DeMarco Jackson, a linebacker. So some positive stuff there. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do when teams just try to quick them to death. It's what the Bucs did a couple of times last year. But when it's time to actually like get in an obvious passing situation, I think they'll be okay pass rush this year.
Chatting with Luke Johnson of The Advocate out there in Los Angeles as the Saints are working out with the Chargers. Jalen Smith signed last week, or maybe even this week, and my days are all mixed up, but is he available and is he out there? Is he working with the defense?
Yeah, Jalen Smith took some first-team snaps today, which is kind of surprising. I still don't know exactly what his spot's going to be on this team. Because the idea is that Demario Davis is going to be healthy for week 1. I mean, Demario's out here right now doing work off to the side while the team's practicing, so he's close. And when he's on the field, he's going to be the guy. And what's Jalen Smith's role then? Is he just like the backup Mike, backup Will? Is he going to play any special teams at all? I don't know. It's a bit curious, but I think they just wanted veteran depth there, and he gives them that. So I think we'll see a lot of them this week as they're kind of ramping him up and see where he fits.
Does Anthony Orji have a chance to make the 53, or is he practice squad, or is he fighting for his Saints life?
I feel like he's practice squad. When you look at the Pro Football Focus grades, like he was like the highest graded Saint from the last week. But you don't see it often enough in practice, I don't think. And it's hard. He's like the third team. He's with the third team defense. They don't get like a ton of reps. So anything that they're going to see, they're either going to make a stab on him based on projection, or he's really going to have to show out. Because I really liked him when he came in. I thought he was a really interesting player coming out of Vanderbilt. He's a great athlete. He was really, really productive there. But we just haven't seen it yet outside of the PFF grade. So, we're gonna have to see more of it in the preseason. And I didn't even see much of him out there today. There was a lot of like Nephi Sewell and DeMarco Jackson making plays. They're definitely in front of him right now.
This is all me reading and none of me watching, but it sounds like Paulson Adebo has kind of cemented himself opposite Lattimore, and Alontae Taylor's kind of looking to be a swing guy somewhere else there. Is Adebo that much ahead of Alontae Taylor at this point?
I don't think so. I think he's ahead, but I think Taylor's making strides, specifically at the outside corner. Right. I think the nickel thing they're trying to do with him is a big time work in progress. He's only going to be there if Roby ends up getting hurt. But Taylor worked with the first team in the ones today. He was their best defender for about half the practice. He broke up like 3 or 4 passes. He had a tackle short of the line to gain on a 3rd and short. I think he's playing confident. He's playing strong. He still might be the starting corner in week 1. The one thing I hope I don't see is them like switch them off like every series. I feel like guys got to get in a rhythm. They got to get in the flow of the game. So I hope it's not one of those sorts of things. But I think it's still up in the air. I think the edge is still going to 29, but one is making a push there.
Lastly, not on the field stuff, anything that came up in interviews. Dennis Allen happy with the work? Any players, anything interesting to say since you just wrapped up talking to the guys after practice?
Yeah, I think they're just excited to be out here. This is kind of like a weird camp where I mean, maybe not weird. This is obviously by design, but they haven't had the team like stay all in one place in a hotel like they kind of typically do the first couple of weeks of camp. So guys have been able to go home after practices, and really out here they're getting a chance to just all be with each other. I think it's a good opportunity for the team to get a little bit closer. For all these position groups to go out and get dinner, late night after practice and all that stuff. I think that's kind of there's an opportunity to do a lot of things out here that they otherwise can't do in New Orleans.
Well, you do some of those things you can't do in New Orleans while you're not working too hard, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, buddy. I'm going to tear it up out here. It's going to be great.
That is Luke Johnson with The Advocate. Saints beat reporter, joins us every Thursday, usually at 1:30, but they had practice in the interview, so we bumped things back an hour, and we appreciate Luke for making a little bit of time with us. Sounds lovely out there. I made my second trip out to Southern California early in April, first time out to Dodger Stadium, and the weather's good. It is. It's quite nice, and I'm sure it's a lot better than things are right here, right now. But sounds like an awesome day for the Saints defensively with what Luke was focusing on. Maybe a little bit more offense as we look into tomorrow and we get ready for the game in SoFi on Sunday. But really good day for the Saints defense. If the Saints defense plays great, I think the offense is going to be pretty good. I mean, they got to work on the offensive line and they got to get Kamara back, but it should be a productive offense. Carr's defenses have been atrocious everywhere he's been, and now he's got a chance to maybe have one of the better defenses, specifically in the NFC. You hope that means good things for the black and gold. We'll come back, play Take It or Leave It, and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered together to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. This collaboration is going to provide patients in this region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. How awesome is that news? We know that cancer affects us all, and Ochsner and MD Anderson are doing everything they can to help us fight it. They've got customized treatment plans, access to MD Anderson's protocols and practice standards, and they got groundbreaking research and innovative therapies as well. They're offering access to select clinical trials to eligible patients, and that expert care is going to be administered in 7 different locations across Southeast Louisiana. They'll be in New Orleans, St. Tammany Parish over on the North Shore, as well as right here in the capital city of Baton Rouge. Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites in the future, which is great news as well. If you want more information, go to Ochsner.org. It's the Ochsner and MD Anderson Cancer Center, Ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225.
On Thursdays, OTB will continue to bring you the latest from Saints and Tigers camp. The Hoodats get ready to take on the Chargers. Plus, a brand new edition of Munchies with Chef Michael Johnson. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. I will be out at Rouse's Burbank and Lee tomorrow from 3 to 5. We're cranking those back up. So if you're getting your weekend groceries, get on by Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Come see me. We'll be giving away shirts and cups and probably gift cards and lots of things. And just talking general sports. Want to talk some baseball? I'm always there for that. But we'll talk some football at Rouse's as well. Go to rouses.com. They've got digital coupons you can print out and cut out. Just had a grand opening down in Houma as well. So Rouse's always growing, always an awesome place to get your grocery shopping done, and always bringing you our Thursday shows right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Chris Morrell hit a 3-run walk-off home run last night to give the Cubs the series win over Little Brother.
True.
Morrell will make multiple All-Star teams the next 6 years. Take it or leave it.
Well, I can't tell you unless I hear the home run again.
All right. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting it. All right,
and the 1-2. Swinging a drive toward right center. Back goes Robert. Back near the stands.
That ball is gone. A game-winning home run for Chris Morel. Can you believe it? Listen to this crowd.
That was fun. The Cubs were down 3-1. Got the first two guys on base, and Chris Morel smashed a home run off the White Sox closer. And then he ran around the bases and ripped his jersey off and jumped on home plate. And I'm sitting in bed before we get to the Chris Morel question. So I hate sitting in bed if I'm not going to sleep. Like when I get in bed, I'm going to sleep. And my wife will not sleep in anything other than pitch black silence, which I also hate. So I never come into the bedroom until I'm ready to go to sleep. That could be 9:45, it could be 11:15, like whatever. But she goes to bed early. But she likes me to be in the bed when she goes to sleep. So I'm watching the Cubs game on the bedroom TV last night, and she's ready to go to sleep, and it's the top of the night. We're down 3-1. I was like, I'm going to watch the end of the game. She's like, no, I don't want you to watch the end of the game. Like, turn it off. I was like, no, I got to watch the end of the game. I can either leave, I can watch it on my phone, or I can watch it right here. And she was cranky, So I muted it and turned the brightness down on the TV, and I was watching. And I'm sitting there, and Bellinger doubles, and then Dansby walks, and I'm just laying there, and she's trying to sleep, and bang, Morel hits a home run. It's on mute, and I'm looking, and it's going back to the track to the wall, and I have to not make any emotion because she's already ticked off that I have the TV on, and I just kind of sat there and smiled. And then I turned the TV off after about 15 seconds of watching the celebration, and she goes, "You're going to sleep?" And I said, "Yes, that was the greatest game of the entire year, and you made me sit here and not enjoy it." But I did enjoy it. It was awesome. And Morel is probably not going to make multiple All-Star teams the next 6 years. I will leave it because he strikes out a little bit too much and doesn't have a true position. They should move him all over the place. But I like him. There's a place for him in that lineup because I got so many guys that can get on base and do hit line drives. Last night was awesome. I had posted in my group text that I was not very happy with the Cubs in no uncertain terms, and then posted later that my feelings had changed at that moment. That was very good.
All right, moving on. The Yankees have won 2 of their last 10, are 14 games behind the Orioles in their division, 6.5 back in the wild card. The Yanks are not going to make the playoffs. Take it or leave it.
I will take that easy. There's no way they're making the playoffs, and Aaron Boone is toast. They have a huge payroll and a bad roster and a bad record. So however you want to slice it, and I don't watch the Yankees every night, they're terrible, and he's going to be the one who loses his job. I don't know that Brian Cashman's doing an awesome job. We give him the benefit of the doubt because he helped build all those awesome teams 20 years ago, and they've been pretty good over the last few years. But, like, want to give somebody else a look at that? I don't know. George isn't running things anymore, and the Suns are, and, like, I don't know. But, like, they're not very good.
All right, last one here. Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, Larsa Pippen, is engaged to Michael Jordan's son, Marcus.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit much for all involved here. I mean, that's a lot. Now, I will tell you that I did not know that Larsa Pippen existed as of a year and a half ago. Had no idea who that was. However, she is involved in these horrendous Bravo shows that my wife watches way too much of.
That's funny.
And so I do know, because Alyssa's got this on all the time, it's all these rich, drunk, bad humans screaming at each other for an hour.
Housewives,
and,
right?
Yeah, it's all that. It's all that. And Alyssa's obsessed with it. And Larsa's on there. And I will tell you that based on the things that she says, she has got it's like carpool time. She is active, we'll say, based on the things that she says. And not like in the workout sense, although she may be working out. And maybe she needs somebody that's in his 20s. I don't know. But this seems like a bit much. And if I'm Scotty and I'm Michael, I'm just like, can we just not? Can we not do that? Because Michael knows some stuff from the 90s. Like, come on. It's locker room talk. And now all of a sudden, that's your kid? This is a bit much, I would suggest. So, whatever. But I can't imagine based on... I don't believe anybody on any of the Housewives shows has ever had a successful marriage. I think they're about 0 for 614 on marriages, so I don't have high hopes for this one. But whatever you want to do that makes you happy, go ahead, Marcus Jordan and Larsa Pippen, have at it. All right, that'll do it here for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of our show today, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google, as well as YouTube. Open things up. Talking about LSU's quarterback situation with Garrett Nussmeier, his approach to this year I found very, very fascinating, and he had some great quotes earlier this week. Talked special teams at 1:15 and Brian Kelly's thoughts on that. Talked about the most impactful games in college football this year, which LSU will be a part of 2 of them. Best case and worst case for a lot of the best teams in the country as well. Luke Johnson, always good with his time. He visited with us from Los Angeles, talking about the Saints, who apparently had a great day defensively on the practice field. So catch all that on demand. Very much looking forward to get out to Tiger Stadium tonight. Baton Rouge Area Alumni Association having a get-together that I'll MC. So hopefully have some good stories about that tomorrow as we get into Tiger Stadium for the first time in quite some time. I think the last time I was in there I was playing golf. So we'll enjoy that, and we'll be back tomorrow with a Friday show brought to you by Corks. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR next. See you tomorrow, same time, same place on Palmer Show.